Hi, and welcome to the DFW Real Producers Podcast, coming to you live from studioUSA West in Colleyville, Texas. We're excited that you guys were able to join us today, and we've got some special guests here today. Two of really the true ambassadors of the DFW real estate community. On my right, Mr. Rick Davis,
In the morning.
the one and only owner of studioUSA, and probably the coolest guy in the room, wouldn't you say?
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Come on, that's aspirational. That's
Yeah.
what we're shooting for. That's
And on my left, maybe you're right. Let's just say one of the most successful realtors in DFW, ranking in the top 500 year after year, but also the president and or owner of, what is it? Sasquatch's Candy Den?
Candy Den.
Yeah. And
We open in Weatherford October 24th.
yeah. Would you say that you're the king of confection in Weatherford? Would
The
that
king
be?
of confection of Weatherford. I need that on a name.
Dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Heck
That's,
yeah.
that's pretty
that's
awesome.
a free branding session right there.
Yep. So
King of confection. I like it.
Sausage King of Chicago.
Can I expect a hat? King of confection.
I think you've earned that. You could probably just make one that's edible, just a little crown jewels that you can eat.
Yes, it's a little hot here. It'd probably melt.
I like where
before
this is
got
going.
anywhere.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This is going to be fun. So this is going to be
Book your branding session now.
This is the rogue edition
Yes.
of DFW Real Producers. I kind of feel like we're sneaking the car out, but we've got a full tank of gas,
Okay.
and we're gonna see how we can.
Sunglasses.
That's right. Pack of cigarettes, sunglasses. We're gonna see how fast we can get this thing up to. What we're gonna take it to. So speaking of, I've got a few questions for you guys. Rick sent me a text on the way over here, and it was a podcast, but I want to know what you guys were listening to this morning to kind of get pumped up for the podcast. What was kind of your playlist?
So it was not a podcast, but I turned into the fan for the Jerry Jones interview.
Oh yeah,
And he was pissed this morning. It was pretty hilarious. Him and the host on the fan were kind of going after it, and he's like, "Well, he basically got down to, he's like, I can pick another show to do these interviews."
wow.
Oh, it
Nice.
was so like people are like, "Oh, you're the home of the Cowboys, like you don't push them." But this is probably the maddest I've ever heard Jerry Jones like at a host, because usually he's really good in interviews, but it was hilarious.
Yeah, so that you kind of feeling a little contention. You're ready to battle it out here
like,
today now.
I was like, they got me going.
Yeah, right on. What about you, Rick? What were you listening to?
I was listening to my spirit animal, Alex Hormozy. I just love the fact that it's just nothing but data. It's all, it's like, this is business. Facts aren't feelings, or feelings aren't facts,
True.
however that works. The idea that if you remove the emotion from the equation and just deal with what's left, stuff gets sorted out.
Right on.
So I said it to you where it's like, come on, bro.
Yeah. Well, I was cranking up. I've been kind of doing a little retro, going down memory lane. I've been listening to a lot of Yes lately, and I had 90125, that album on.
Dude.
But I was cranking it in the shower, and then I walk out, and I can hear the bass still going. I've got one of those Sonos systems.
Yeah.
It was playing on my outdoor patio.
Chris
My
Squire.
whole neighborhood. I just want to apologize to everybody in Colleyville because I think I woke everybody up at about 7:30 cranking to Yes.
I
So,
remember, I want to say,
That's awesome.
was that like a 1983, 1984-ish, that album?
Yeah.
I just remember
Like
it
that.
being ubiquitous and it being the complete jumping off point
Hang on.
for Yes.
what was that word? Ubiquitous.
It was everywhere.
Everywhere.
You could not
Thank you.
escape. The owner of a Lonely Heart.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, it had a cool video. And it's like, Yes, we're like the least photogenic dudes on earth. And then here they are. But they also had, that was the Trevor Rabin album. For all you guitar nerds out there. Trevor
Wow.
Rabin, killer guitar player and producer, replaced the great Steve Howe in Yes, which a lot of music nerds would have thought, that's impossible.
Yeah.
But not.
Well, did I introduce myself?
Oh, who are you?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I did. Miranda, our producer, is over here kind of giving me a
who's
little
over
wink and a nod. Like,
Giving the
"Who are
high
you?"
sign.
So,
I don't know who he is either.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
like we're just in here, like me and Tyler just in here with a guy.
well, like I said, I feel like we snuck the car out. Yeah.
Said free
usual
candy
host,
on the-
Miss Julie Ultimus, has let me kind of sit in on this one. I'm the co-owner of DFW Real Producers, and happy to be here facilitating this conversation. As we said, this was kind of a rogue edition.
Yeah,
and
we're off the map.
I'll be really honest. I'm totally unprepared. So I had a little help from Chat GPT. Actually, Miranda asked her to pull up some questions for me. And
we
so
go.
she
We're in
came
for
up
it.
with a few things. Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting if I can get this teed up here.
I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah. So I asked her to pull up like 4 thought-provoking questions that are non-real estate related.
All right.
For our podcast. And so I'm going to start with this one. This is going to be a little bit deep, but I think you guys can handle it, and maybe not too deep, but you're welcome to go
Well,
as
if it
deep
gets too
as
deep,
you
I'll
like.
get on Tyler's shoulders.
That's right.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to we'll give everybody a minute to answer this question because we're going to rock through this
no
pretty
pressure.
quick. Yeah. Thank you, ChatGPT. Okay, number one, I'll start with Rick. How do you define success in your personal life, and has that definition evolved over time?
Okay, so just to pull the curtain back, success in my personal life would really be kind of focused on ongoing sobriety. So if I live to November and don't drink, that'll be 20 years.
Wow.
So thank you.
Yeah, right on.
Awesome.
Man.
And I only do it for the applause.
That's it.
It's purely.
You deserved a much bigger one. Two claps.
Well, I have to make it. So yeah, no early
I'll
parties.
give you 4 in November.
There you go. Sweet. That for me is the personal thing because where I'm at now is so diametrically opposed to where I started. So I got sober when I was 36. And at 36, I was just a net minus. And so now anything that happens on the good side of the ledger is purely bonus round and absolutely just, wow, I can't believe I'm here. And so just kind of heading in that direction and just having that be my North Star is the real driver.
Right on, man. That's beautiful, dude.
Oh, thank you.
It's a good
Did
answer.
go deep. Thank you for sharing.
Kind of
that.
wish I went first.
Yeah. Top that.
So for me, it's evolved in the sense of like when I think any young entrepreneur or somebody who gets out of college, you get your job, you're just kind of heads down and you're trying to either grow that corporate ladder or just grow your bank account. And when you introduce family, kids, and all that into the picture, it took a while, right? Like you have to, in my experience, I had to go through just chasing dollars to realize like, oh, maybe there's a better way. And now it's chasing and trying to work my business in a way that I can be there as a husband, be there as a father, and then still, set us up so that we can ultimately do what we want to do, right? Like in life, like my goal is to travel and let my kids experience as much as possible. I mean, I was fortunate growing up, like we did a lot of traveling. So that's kind of what I do, is just to be able to not tell them no. And
Right.
that's kind of my
Right
goal.
on.
That'll keep you busy.
I mean, I'll tell them no when it comes to a lot of things, but I just don't like.
You're talking about your kids,
Yeah.
not your wife. You would never say no to your wife.
No,
right?
never.
Yeah.
But like if I can live a life to where like we do it successfully on the business side, to where financially we don't have to say no, you can't go to that medical provider, or no, I don't think we can afford to put you into whatever sports or whatever you want to be able to do, then I think I'm pretty happy.
Wow.
Right
now,
on.
is your wife part of your business? And
No, so we're polar opposites. She's
Yeah.
a social worker. That's probably why I married her.
Wow.
'Cause They knew I needed a social
What's her name?
worker. Taylor.
Ta-
Taylor and Tyler. Yeah.
Taylor, are you sure that's why you married her? Because she's a social worker? Because I think you just maybe did that to save on embroidery on your towels. TK?
Yeah, we're all
is that-
TKs. It's
right on.
Taylor. Our kids are Trevor and Tatum.
That's
But-
branding right there.
Yeah, it's all brand. We're all TKs. But
It's easy.
But no, we're polar opposites, and I give a lot of props to people who can work coincide
Yeah.
with their spouse. I don't think I could, and it's just,
Boy,
it's just different for everyone.
Yeah.
But no, she supports me, and then we talk down, and she'll be like, "Hey, let's rein in this or that," and so yeah, I owe what I do to her. But yeah,
Right on. Wow.
None of my ex-wives.
You should be really good at marriage by now.
Oh,
Rick.
dude. Seasoned pro.
Yeah. Let me see if I can answer this in a
Yeah.
short way, cogent way. Probably the same. Yeah. Look it
all
up.
these SAT words.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Yeah, you didn't know there'd be the verbal. Is that what it is?
It's a
Yeah,
verbal
the
exam.
verbal exam. Yeah. So likewise, probably the same as Tyler, that it has to do with how business and everything translates to quality of life with my family. And it's the biggest struggle. It's just the time and attention and the energy that you have left at the end of the day for the people that you love. So success for me is a day where I come home and I've got gas in the tank for the people, and they want to be around me too.
Yeah.
So this weekend I got to spend some time with, it was homecoming and different things, and got to spend time with my son and him, his his prom date or homecoming date, and just getting to experience that with him. And then my other son, we were cooking together, and then of course my wife and I just hanging out, and we used to work together
I
quite
can
a bit.
confirm that because it was like I texted him like one of my 73 random stupid questions per day, or like, dude, I'm just thinking out loud, and he's like, oh man, I got to do the family time. It's and he sends me pictures, and it's like, wow, you got a full crew.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I am realizing and then constantly adjusting. But like your kids don't really care how stressful or how hard your day is. They expect you to show up.
Wow.
And so that's been like, especially at, they're almost 3 and almost 5 now. Like they just want to go party.
Yeah.
They just want to go, and they want their dad to go wrestle with them, play baseball, do their thing. They don't, if I get home and I'm like, and there are some days, but they just want you to be there. So,
yeah, man, do you have to kind of, as you walk in, kind of do a little self-check and go, okay, I'm present and I'm taking this hat off?
I will say I've not perfected the door entry through Wayne, that we all know Wayne.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He's like, don't take a phone call before you walk in the house and be off the phone before you get in the house.
Yeah, man,
So when I do that, you'll notice.
Shout out to Wayne.
Yeah, shout out to
Yeah.
Wayne. Because it is pretty terrible. Like when you walk, like they're excited, you walk in the door and then you're like, oh, like give me a minute.
Yeah.
It's like you could have just taken
that's
a minute.
a buzzkill.
You could have just taken your minute in your car.
Yeah.
But
wow.
But yeah.
That leads into our next question. Actually, that's kind of cool because it would be a great routine. What habits or routines do you rely on to maintain balance between your professional and personal life? That would be a great one.
So that one is what I try to implement. It doesn't always work. The other one is I try to just turn my phone on to do not disturb certain hours in the afternoon or in the evenings, just so I don't have the notifications, right? There's some days that I'm unable to do that, but for the most part, I do try to make it a point to where I'm just like, all right, go put the phone away. Because the phone for me is my biggest distraction.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, and then you don't realize, like, they're just like sitting there waiting. They're like, we've been waiting 8 hours for you.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Wow.
So,
Rick?
So the balance question is, for me, there is no balance. And the thing is, I like it that way. So, but the routine, the things that for the sake of sanity, the things that our routine is so much like Tyler, phone is pretty much off or on silent at 9 p.m. And I am so boring now compared to the maniac I used to be. Like if you'd have told 20 years ago me that like, oh dude, you'll be in bed by 10 o'clock every night, lights out. And if you're not asleep already within 30 minutes, because like Cruz, my right-hand man, he'll text me at, 9:53. Are you still awake? And it's like, no, and,
Right.
But the other thing is, just to tie it back into the recovery thing is I have this men's fellowship thing that I do Wednesdays and Saturdays. And that is a part of my routine, again, that I would have never anticipated being a huge part of my life, but it is. And so it's Wednesday nights and then Saturday mornings. And then I have a crew that the guys that I sponsor and stuff, we go to breakfast. And so I have this lather, rinse, repeat aspect to everything. And then everything else is the Wild West, dude. Build the plane in midair.
Right on. Yeah, it's funny for me. There's seasons of discipline where I've got routines. I have a morning routine that I call my RPMs. It's read, pray, meditate, RPMS, stretch, workout kind of a thing. I'm not in that season right now. I'm in a season of not balance, but kind of counterbalance, where I'm kind of going extreme on some business stuff because there's just a season right now. And so I wake up and I'm working, and I work pretty much 12 hours. And so I'm feeling the imbalance, but it was to get to a place just to kind of go in. It's like creative time. I view it as you've got the maker time where you're actually, trying to, you're like an actor. Mm-hmm. You're going deep into a project or into a role, something that you're really fleshing out to
the act of creating. And
so that takes, getting out of balance a little bit. And then there's some repercussions, it's
well, and that's
like
a different vibe and a different skill set than the manager time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm in the process of learning the difference and learning how to, it's like, it's not a one size fits all hammer.
Right.
It's like, oh no, I think this takes a caliper and a couple other things, and figuring that out. Again, building the plane in midair.
I agree.
But shout out to, I went to Stretch Lab this morning, so shout out to Joanne at Stretch Lab.
Right on.
Yes.
You look pretty flexible today.
Oh, dude, it was excellent, man.
I've been professionally stretched a handful of times, and it's a game changer.
Oh,
Is it
I'll
really?
be there again tomorrow morning.
Never. Yeah.
But yeah, back on like the different seasons and everything. Like I do think we just have to be cognizant of when those seasons are. Like we're about to open a candy store, so the last month it's been crazy.
Yeah.
My next like week and a half is going to be, we open in 10 days, so it's going to be a lot of me driving to and from Weatherford. So it's like, no, I'm not there as much. So it's just being cognizant to be there when it's over, and just being like, okay,
Gotta know, why a candy store?
because so we had short-term rentals in Broken Bow. That's where the first one is.
Okay.
And it was during COVID and during that when it was just crazy up there. So every time we rented out our own cabin for ourselves, we lost bookings. So me and my buddy Logan and my father-in-law, we were drinking beer. We're like, what business can we do up here and not lose money every time we go and enjoy it? And so our cabin prices, if you guys are familiar with Broken Bow, they just went crazy. So we sold the cabins that we owned there, and me and my buddy Logan and our families, we just said, screw it, let's just roll the dice and open up a candy store. And it's been awesome, and the margins are really high.
Nice.
And so then we were like, hey, we want to expand. And so we found a spot in Weatherford, and that little city, if you haven't been there, they're spending a lot of money redoing downtown Weatherford.
Okay.
But the city of Fort Worth is helping them. Nice. So it doesn't look anything like it did 5-6 years ago. It looks a lot closer to Denton, Decatur. And so we just looked at the opportunity. We're like, hey, let's roll.
And one more. What about the name? Where did?
So Sasquatch is just a big thing up in Oklahoma, and like Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and I'm 6'5". And so, so we kind of just were like, all right, Sasquatch Candy Den fits the name there for Oklahoma. And we already had all the merchandising and the branding. And so we just played it into Weatherford. And so far, I think it's a name because our little mascot doesn't just look like, it's not like the Jax Lynx Sasquatch that looks terrifying. It's kind of happy looking. And it
looks kind of like a Jerry Garcia Sasquatch.
Yeah, it just kind of rolled right in. So we kept it. And so far, we've had good feedback.
Okay, I just didn't
it's
know
a weird name.
No, I love it. So it's like, I didn't know if you had some.
No, it tied into the Broken Bow originally, and we're like, we don't want to rebrand that.
Okay, so you're not up at night like doing plaster footprint casts or looking at the trail cam. All right, I was kind of hoping you were.
No,
I was going to go down that rabbit hole.
Is your shop, is the new place, the brick and mortar in Weatherford, is it downtown? Like,
yeah, it's on York. It's on York Avenue. They just redid
Sasquatch footprints leading to the store or something. That'd be kind of cool.
Not a bad idea.
Hey,
dude, Lance, branding.
Branding.
That's two.
Two for
You're on fire.
Weatherford's great. My son was out
edible
there.
hat.
Edible hat. Yeah.
And
Big
footprints.
I'm the king of confection.
The king of confection. Yep. But Weatherford is such a great town. My son, the comet is kind of circulating, that 800,000-year-old comet, whatever, and he drove out to Weatherford the other night just because it was where you could get away from some noise pollution.
The light pollution is real here in DFW.
Yeah, totally.
And Weatherford, so Parker County is the fastest growing county.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, in Texas. And so there's a lot of growth out there. So the lights pollution is going to be out there pretty soon. But, but it's an awesome little spot.
Bigfoot's on his way.
All
right, next question. You guys ready?
Yeah.
ChatGPT. Ooh, I like this one.
Uh-oh.
What's the most impactful book or experience that has shaped your mindset or approach to challenges?
The most impactful. That's a good question. Are we talking business? Are we talking regular?
I think it just
business?
It could be whatever. Yeah.
So like I've had two. I'll just cut it off on really like 3 experiences over the last 5 years that kind of changed my mindset. From like in real estate, you can be like really isolated or really like, I don't want to share what I win. It's not very. I'm trying to think of the word.
It can be very territorial.
It can be territorial. And I met like my father-in-law. I was like, hey, I'm going to open a brokerage. He's like, all right, let's go. Let's do our thing. When we met a candy store owner named Greg in Houston, who we just through mutual friends, we met him. He was like, hey, here's the playbook on how to do it. I'm like, okay, heck yeah. We followed his playbook. We were able to do it. And then I met a guy named John Cannon, who we actually bought the land from. He was the founder of Kinko's. Sold it, and then he was the COO of FedEx office. when I was talking to him about Kinko's and all that, and he's like, man, people, and the candy store, how it ties in, he's like, when I was at Kinko's, everybody would come to me like, hey, how do I make a print shop? How do I do this? He goes, I gave everything away. He's like, my board was pissed. He's like, man, somebody's gonna like rip off and duplicate and do this better. He's like, cool, then they'll buy us. And so he ended up selling Kinko's for over $3 billion to FedEx Office, and then he went and worked for FedEx Office. So it's kind of changed that mindset to get into the coaching, get into the brokerage role to train, because it's like you can't have a prosperity mindset by just giving and giving and giving, and not everybody's going to take it and be able to run with it. But so I'm an open book, and it's really those three people, those three individuals that kind of changed. They flipped it. It's like, oh, you can be a high producer, and you can tell other people exactly how to do it. So it's
100%.
Right on.
And I have a very similar train of thought in that regard. So I've had this thing where, I always kind of say all roads lead to Rome. And it's like, okay, we're on the slow road to Rome. However, everything has converged over the last, say, 9 months that had really been percolating, or something I drove past 8, 9, 10 years ago. So it's like I've known Lance since 2012 or 2013. And then that all came back around to over here. And then my partner / extended business partner, family / landlord out in Plano, Daniel Eng. I've known him for 10 years. And both of those guys it's like they came from opposite ends of the earth with the exact same mindset, that every once in a while you get these mile markers that are just like, oh, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. Keep going. And Lance can attest to, like, I will get wrapped around the axle quicker than anybody and go. I'm like you put the baking soda in the volcano and pow. But after I, act like a jagoff for 10 or 15 minutes or whatever, it all goes away. And then I can still work with people. It's like, I don't hold a grudge. I don't do any of that stuff. But the biggest thing is,
we're all covered in baking soda.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There might be a wet cleanup on aisle 5, but hey, you're going to break a few eggs when you're making an omelet. But one of the things is that whole idea of nobody's going to take your stuff and eliminate your ability to do it. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, if they're better than you, then they deserve to succeid.
I agree.
You know, that's the cold, hard truth of it. And then by the same token, if you're better, I always tell my guys, I've hired guys that had barely ever taken a photo. And it's like, well, dude, if you don't suck and you don't quit, you'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you suck, I could probably make you a little bit better, but there's going to be a ceiling. And if you quit, well, that's on you. Yeah. But otherwise, if you keep going, sooner or later, because the other thing, we were talking about the balance thing earlier, most people will quit.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's that same argument. I'm like, you can flip the script on and expect it's easy in real estate. When you're talking to people, it's like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to just show that person how to make $100,000? Like, wouldn't that change their lives? And then usually the people are like, they sit back and they're like, that would be pretty cool. I'm like, that's what we're able to do when you're an entrepreneur, when you're in real estate. It's like, you're not just training or you're sharing tips to go sell one house. It's like, hey, you can go make that person 6 figures just by tweaking their business.
Well, and now amazing. That we've got the studios and the brick and mortars, I turn into Oprah. You get a show, and you get a show, and you get a show. Because that's the easiest way for us as StudioUSA to bring value. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, you can totally do a show, and then again, if you suck or if you don't suck and you don't quit, it'll be fine.
If you suck at it, just don't watch it and don't share it.
That's right. Well, and even to that, it's like I get a lot of my time ate up by talking people out of doing things, and not necessarily saying like, oh, don't do it, but more going down the rabbit hole of a lot of people want to do the show, or they want to do a podcast, or they want to do these things because of the way that they imagine they will feel when they tell other people that that's what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Versus, well, no, I've done a show with Wayne for 43 weeks in a row, and we'll look at the thing and go like, holy shit, 123 people watched. And I'm like, yeah, why? Where having that many people on live to like a Joe Rogan or whatever it's not even in the universe.
Yeah, it doesn't correlate.
But for us, where we're just doing it because we like to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that you can't fake. It's like, you either dig it or you don't.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And you've been so generous, Rick, with just your time and kind of donating it to different people to help them get started. And I think you've been sowing those seeds just by being generous, just kind of like, it's almost like a videography co-op that you've opened up.
And I'm one of those watchers of Fired Up Fridays.
Yeah.
And then you had me on there.
Yes.
I think people watch. Y'all are infectious. Like it's a good podcast.
Well, and the best part, and the reason that and so Wayne came out of, what we were talking about earlier, like the different things that affect. So like hanging with the Real Producers crew, getting back in tight, with the Metrotex gang and all of that, everything just keeps building. It's like, stacking your skills, but also stacking your relationships. And then all of a sudden they start to cross pollinate, and it's like, oh shit, I didn't know. Whenever like Wayne was like, yeah, I got Tyler coming. I'm like, well, dude, we were just over at the thing, and then the YPN, blah, blah, blah.
Well, and then he ended up as our speaker for an event that we have November 1st. I had no idea. I called him. I saw the flyer, and I called him. I was like, I'm the moderator for this event, and I didn't even know you were getting put on it. I was like, this is awesome.
And I told him, I'm like, dude, we'll be there. We'll get some sexy footage. We'll do like a little cross promo stuff. So again, shout out to Wayne one more time.
Yeah. I think he's been mentioned 4 times.
As you said, it's kind of all you use the term that the Venn diagrams all kind of line up, and there's that overlap of just people in this community. It's what I love about the Real Producers community is just when you get people at this kind of elevated level of entrepreneurism, whether that be in real estate or you take it to a brick and mortar, but kind of related to this, it is such a relationship business. And when those things overlap, amazing things can happen. And
it's fun to be at y'all's events and see how many of the same faces are continuing to show up and then pour into other stuff. It's a good time.
And being able to be somewhat of like a weird kind of concoction of a matchmaker and show builder, because now here in the Studio USA West, we have tomorrow the Winning Women's Wednesday West, which will be going live, which directly correlated and tied into Real Producers. I met Michelle, who is the co-host of the East, and then Christy Becca I met at one of the parties at Metrotex and introduced those two. She comes on the boom, 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 and it's just like this thing explodes. And
it's wild. The only reason I know Wayne is from Kara. I knew Ashley because Ashley Gentry. She had the buyer on my first ever listing. And then I got the 40 under 40. And then she's like, hey, by the way, now you're a vice chair for YPN. And it's kind of all.
Oh, so you got voluntold for that.
Yeah. Oh, you're voluntold for everything at Metrotex.
Oh yeah. Yes.
And then I met Lance through, he was like, hey, you're going to be a Real Producer. Hey, come meet me. And I'm
like, that was how many years ago that you were featured in?
That was last May, but I think you and I had met in 2020.
Oh, that's right. Kind of came back around.
Yeah, it kind of came all back around.
Long fuse on that one.
And now we're here. So I totally agree. You don't know.
Yeah.
But then everybody's working on a similar path.
Yeah. That's a lot of fun
to watch.
It's so fun.
Absolutely.
I didn't answer the question. I'll give you
let's hear
a quick short answer. Books. I was thinking books.
Oh, okay.
So just because that was part of that question.
We don't.
I'm a preacher's kid, so of course I grew up going to church. So the Bible was influential. But on Sunday after church, I'd go in my room, close the door, and I get the latest issue of Mad Magazine. So I will say that it's somewhere the things that informed me the most were Scripture and Mad Magazine. And
that's a good balance.
Yeah, it is. I think it gave me a healthy skepticism because Mad Magazine really, poked fun at everything from religion to politics to entertainment to capitalism to socialism, whatever, all the big things that were going on. And, the message to me was, that, hey, just be able to recognize the con in all this and laugh at it and not get so hung up on stuff. So it was kind of one of those.
So now Lance is the what me worry guy.
You just call me the Alfred E. Newman of real estate.
DFW.
That's it. The Alfred E. Newman. I do have kind of a dorky look like that, so that would be a big compliment. But isn't it funny how you all these things kind of come back to you realize how much of an impact and how they've informed you, and whether that be the people or the experiences. And we all have phones going off. It sounds like.
Yep.
Is that Tyler? Is that you?
Oh, I thought
that is my phone, and it's on Do Not Disturb.
Right on.
And on silent.
So, okay. So I want to go back to, we really haven't talked about what you do, Rick, as far as what does Studio USA do besides host great podcasts?
So now we pretty much have dipped our toe into everything. So it started out, previous company, and now 2 years with Studio USA, where the team, even as we speak, are out shooting listings right this very minute. So that was the bread and butter, or the gas that drives the engine. And then out of that built all of the other basic platforms and bits of content that we could do, up to and including green screen, which is over here to stage right. And then, of course, the podcast side. And then last month, we actually started our first entree into the world of social media management, because I have about a half dozen clients that we've done all of their content, listings and otherwise, for the past 5 years. And so we had this massive back catalog of digital content that, in the traditional sense, something is sold, it's, after its days on market are over, and it just kind of goes into the dustbin of history. Yeah. Well, this was a way for the clients that we've had to get basically an increased ROI off of what they've done historically. And so the team that runs the social media goes back through, and I kind of let them, especially on the clients that have a lot of stuff, I let the team go back through and basically look at, hey, what's the sexy stuff? Mm-hmm. What can we push out there just to get the visibility? So the social media side, we have gotten a massive increase in our folks' footprint just by virtue of posting something every day and posting the highlights of the highlights. So there's almost like a content curation aspect to it. And then the shows. One of the coolest things was, out of the women's show came the Women Who Win workshop, and at Metrotex, hosted by Ashley and Michelle. And so that has a whole nother level of influence and just casting a wider net. And so doing the marketing for those guys and doing the marketing and content and management for the things that come out of the show. It's like, for example, if we do a 35 to 40 minute show today, there might be 13. Oh, that's probably putting the bar pretty high. There are probably 3 or 4 actual sound bites that are interesting and intriguing. Yep. So that would then be stacked to go out and market the next round. And the idea now, and one of the things I tell everybody is, nobody knows who you are. Advertise more. Because everybody gets caught up in like, I don't want to be posting constantly about my business or whatever. And like, hey, nobody cares. And nobody knows who you are. And if you don't post today, or tomorrow, or the next day, pretty soon they're going to forget about you, because think about your feed and the endless supply of just garbage that is just constant.
I agree. Consistency is king, especially in social media.
Yes. I always say content is king, consistency is queen.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Got to get those two married together.
Okay. I like it.
Tyler, any?
Yeah, so I think we've already established candy store, husband, father, but I'm also the broker and owner of TK Realty. We're a boutique brokerage. Right now we're out of South Lake. We're looking to move to Roanoke here by probably next April. And that's a lot of us. Yeah, heard it here first. A lot of the agents live closer to the Roanoke area, but really we're a normal traditional brokerage, but I try to pour into the people more on the one-on-one coaching. And then also we're very family oriented. Bring your kids. We want to create an environment that really just people get to work together. We have a fun culture. We hang out. We'll go to things. Most of our agents, spouses know each other, and trying to really just create a smaller boutique brokerage that people want to be part of. And we service our clients at a high level. The clients come first, but we do try to do it at a high level while creating a culture that we work with the people that we want to work with, and we have fun.
Yeah. So right on.
Love it.
Okay. Last question. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice unrelated to your career, what would it be? I think we know the answer.
Okay. So 20-year-old me getting his first DWI, I would have said, why don't you stay sober this time, buddy? Yeah, I got into a spot of trouble with the state of Texas before I was even 21. So, it's one of those things, chicken or the egg, and coulda, woulda, shoulda. But I'd be curious to see what would have happened if I hadn't just gone full throttle. I was a child of the 80s. What can I say?
Yeah. I've been president.
Yeah. There you go.
At least the mayor.
Or
right?
governor.
Yeah.
Maybe. Could be. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. What's your time?
For me, I didn't really calm down until I was probably like 26, 27. So younger me, I probably would have tried to instill, hey, control what you can control. Stop being as hot-headed, and actually listen to people smarter than you. Because I think when you're young and dumb, and when I was playing baseball, it's like you learn through pain, right? And so it's like if I could have slowed down, listened a little bit better, and I would have went through a lot less pain. sports and life wise. So that's probably what I would have done. Just been like, hey, shut up, listen to people smarter. And if you're the smartest person in the room, get in a different room and figure it out.
Yeah. There's that pain versus pleasure. The Tony Robbins thing, I think, is, that just what's going to be the most motivating to you. And sometimes those are the lessons that we
and I liked
over
pain.
and over. Yeah.
I liked running into walls and walls.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
Historically, it would seem that I could take an ass whooping and just keep going.
Yeah. Take a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have to say probably for me, it's more about just go for it. Like quit worrying about it, just whatever you thought if you look back, if there's anything that you might regret, it might be, I wish that we had moved to Japan before we had kids, or just different things that my wife and I have talked about over the years that we look back and go, man, we're not going to get that time back. We should have just gone for it then. Life is short. So a lot of it is just going for it in the moment,
100%.
being thoughtful about it, but you're not going to get that time back. So whatever it is, and it doesn't have to be, again, a big move or a big decision, but mainly it's just more about being in a position to be present and enjoy what you're doing. So if I could give myself the advice, it would be, man, don't overburden yourself with thinking that life is about getting stuff. It's about relationships, which I think I've kept that in the forefront, but I would just keep telling myself that the important stuff isn't the stuff. It's the people, it's the relationships, it's getting together and having meaningful conversations that enrich your spirit, your soul, all that stuff. That's the stuff that you take with you. And
agreed. And now I'm curious because I could say historically, there's nothing to indicate that I would have ever listened to any of that.
Yeah.
And now having learned what I learned and how I learned it, I'm infinitely more grateful and appreciative of it. And so I would just put that little capper on it where it was like, I took what it took,
Yeah.
Lighten up, Francis.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Well, and then anything that we do business-wise, like you just have to do it. There's a lot of people with great ideas and then they get scared to take action. And you just yes, it's a risk, but if you are passionate about something, just jump all in, burn the boats, do it.
Well, that's what I said earlier. Most people will quit.
Yeah.
Or they won't even get started.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Right on.
So.
Well, guys, this has been fun. I think that's a great place to end it with something a little bit meaningful and a little pulling on our heartstrings a little bit. But so I'd like to thank our guest, Rick Davis, Studio USA, Tyler Christ with Sasquatch's Candy Den and TK Realty.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a fun episode, the Rogue episode of DFW Real Producers.
It fits us really well, Rick.
Yep.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Hell yeah.
And we'll. I think we brought the car back in good shape. We're not going to get in trouble. I think we filled it back up with some gas.
Yep.
So we'll see you guys next time, same time, 10 o'clock every Tuesday. See you.